ScanNCut. Welcome to Monday Marks. Today is a Monday and I should be working, but we have just been hit with an absolutely huge snowstorm, 3 feet of snow. And I have been shoveling for 2 days straight out in the extreme cold. My back is killing me, but it's a snow day and I cannot let a snow day from school go unchallenged. So I'm excited to make some art, but I don't have a lot left in me. So today I'm going to explore a scribble, because what's easier to get involved with than a scribble? And a scribble can be anything. It's really just a mark. It's a line. It's something that moves across the page. So I've decided that today I'm going all in on the scribble in multitude of ways, and I'm excited to show you how I do that. So come along on my snow day and I'll show you how to have some fun and play with scribbles. One of my favorite scribble techniques doesn't need anything more than a piece of paper, a little bottle. This happens to be filled with some paint spray and some water. And I have a really beautiful spritzing water bottle. And all I'm going to do is just take the bottle and touch and start scribbling in any way that feels good. I'm just creating some lines moving in different directions. I tend to scribble in circular motions. Other people might go more rough or bumpy. And then all I'm going to do is spray lightly with this mister. And I love to see how the lines start to separate. They create these like dendrites. It separates the pigment as well. And just creates a beautiful, soft, scribbly line. I can leave some areas hard, some areas softer. And that's it. Just a really beautiful, soft scribble. Another one of my favorite scribbling tools is General Sketch and Wash. The reason I like it is because it's graphite, but it's water soluble. And also, once it is dry, it's permanent, so it's not going to move. And the best way to scribble with a pencil is to hold it in a way that you would not normally hold a pencil. And just move it around on the paper. I'm just kind of responding to what's already here, letting my hand and my pencil just kind of go where it wants to go. And just kind of think about the space. Now, like I said, this is water soluble. So as soon as this line gets wet, it changes its consistency. And I can make that line a little bit deeper and darker. I can make it thicker and thinner. And because this is water soluble, I can also use this pencil in wet paint or wet water. And I'm just activating that. And then just let that dry, and that gray line becomes permanent as well. The next thing I have in front of me is some Golden's paint, and I have a green gold, which is quite translucent. So you can see the tick marks right through this. This is going to be a yellow gold color. I have Titan Buff green, and it's Titan Green Pale, also by Golden, but this is a fluid acrylic. And I just put a dot of the paint spray that I had in the bottle and some white. This is a gloss glazing liquid, and I'm just added it to my color because I want my color to be quite translucent here and very soft. So I'm going to use a big brush, and I think I'm going to start with some green gold. And the glazing medium is going to keep this from drying quickly, and it's going to also make it even a little bit more translucent. So even though I'm going in and grabbing some opaque white, that opaque white is not going to be as opaque because it has the glazing medium in it. And this is a great way to also work with scribbles, is while the paint is wet, working through the paint with either the end of my paintbrush, allowing some of those areas to show through, or I could also use a knife. So this is just a palette knife, and I'm just kind of scraping and scratching. You could also use a skewer. Anything that has some kind of sharp point to it is going to work great. And I just am going over some of these areas just to give myself a soft background, to push back some of the color that I have here, and to give myself a place to scribble some more. I love the end of a paintbrush. It just has such a nice thickness to it, and usually you have a paintbrush in your hand anyway, so it works great. It's just a fun way to add some soft textures, allow some of the area underneath to show through, some of the pieces and parts that maybe I still want to keep, and add some texture to it. As well. So it's just a really fun way to add some more scribble to your work. And when you really don't have much else in you, everybody can enjoy a good scribble. And again, this sketch and wash can be used in wet paint. So I can continue to draw with this as if I wanted to as well. And also, if something is a little more than I want, I can just go right over it. Just gonna add a little more yellow in here. That yellow gold is a really intense yellow. And you can also, go in with other paper, lift some of that paint off, which makes some really cool scribbles on another piece of paper. So I love that. Look at those great scribbles. So that's a really neat effect as well. All right, I think I'm going to stop there and go on to a different way to deal with scribbles. This is another great pencil for scribbling. This is Derwent's Inktense pencils, and this happens to be in leaf green. What's really great about these pencils is that this is ink, it's not watercolor, and when it dries, it is also permanent. Now you can do, just like with the General's Sketch and Wash, you can just do the color first and then water, or you can also do this directly in the water, and it has a beautiful line quality. So instead of a wild scribble, I'm just creating a little bit of line, dipping it in the water, a little bit of green on green, and I think I'll also bring in my little bit of a pointed brush and make some interesting lines. This will become some interesting collage material. And I did a little something different here. Instead of doing like real scratchy, I just did a lot of line. And then I'm also going to use this as some of that collage material because it's really beautiful. I'm going to add just a little bit of this color to it. So I'm actually right now using this pencil almost like a watercolor, but it is ink. Just to take away a little bit of the whiteness. And I'll use this as some collage material too. On the back of this piece of paper, I'm just going to turn it over and I'm going to do kind of a controlled scribble. I'm just going to create a line that moves along. And maybe is a nice thin line. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, I could do this with a pair of scissors, or I could also do this with an X-Acto knife. And I'm just going to cut next to that line. Again, I'm not trying to be precise with this. It is a scribble after all. A couple jagged edges might be interesting. And not only that, I like a good quality of line where you have some thick, some thin. So I don't want it to just be all the same. I'm going to have some fun with just some different qualities. Just cutting around that scribble is going to give me some collage material that isn't a scribble. And I'm not even going to worry about, like I said, an X-Acto knife doesn't really matter to me. I'm not trying to get a perfect scribble here. Probably a smaller pair of scissors would help though. So I'm just poking my scissors right through. Some of it falls apart, no big deal. And just cut out my own scribble. I am, however, going to show you a really fun tool for making something that's a little bit more precise with your scribble, something that's a little bit cleaner, and something that can be used over and over again. But I'll show you how this gets incorporated after it's all cut out. So I'm just going to cut out these little spaces. So this is my Brother's ScanNCut DX, and it's just something new that I've been really experimenting with. And what I've already done is I've taken this scribble, which I drew on white paper, And then using Posca pens, both thin and large, created a really interesting scribble or arabesque, or however you like to refer to it. It's really just a drawing, and that's what a scribble is. And I've taken just a little bit of spray adhesive, just a really light spray with the Krylon, only because my mat isn't quite as sticky as it needs to be for a heavy-duty piece of paper. On the side, I'm going to raise my bar to 2 so that it can handle a nice heavyweight paper that I've done some artwork on. And what I'm going to do is just load this in. I've already got my design saved to the machine, so I'm going to retrieve my data from the machine. And I've got this large scribble already saved, and I have it set so that it will cut the outside edge, not on the line, so that creates an actual shape. All right, and I'm going to hit OK, and OK, select cut, and start, and it'll pull that right in. The first thing the machine does is it just tests the thickness of the material, and then it'll start cutting. And I like to, when I'm working with thick papers like this, I do like to make sure that I just stick around for the process, just to make sure that if something starts to lift, I can slightly stick it down. Another thing that I do with my papers so that they're really flat to begin with is when you work on one side of the paper with wet media, like I did here, that wet media makes all the fibers curl up. That's why your paper curls, because actually what's happening is all the fibers on the paper are expanding, so it will curl. And if you spray the other side of the piece and dry it, and then also it helps to flatten it under a couple of books, just to get it nice and flat and smooth. But this spray adhesive, just something to have a tack to it so that your mat really stays flat and the material on top of the mat stays flat. So it starts moving over the whole thing, and a lot of people use this for vinyl, for transfers, for stickers. I know lots of also fabric artists use this for cutting out material for quilt making or for applique. But for me, I just absolutely love cutting my papers that I've made and designs that I have added to the machine, not something that is already uploaded for me. So it just gives me another option of creating my own artwork. This is another one that I did that is just a much larger shape. This could easily become a mask or a stencil once it's cut out, depending on the material you cut it out of. But this is just a really great way to create your artwork from beginning to end, and it's very fast. And it saves my poor hands from cutting with an X-Acto knife, because I just don't have the strength in my hands anymore like I used to when I was young. So this is a very helpful tool, and it really does cut very smooth, as you'll see in a moment. Okay, so now that the ScanNCut has finished cutting, the exciting part is to pull away all the excess. And I think you'll be really surprised to see how delicate this can cut, and you can get some of the tiniest little lines that are so beautiful. Right here is one of them. And it basically pretty much just lifts straight up, and then all the leftover I'll just peel off, and possibly it does make some really interesting shapes, which could be used for a collage at a later date. So some of the leftover So here's one of those really fine lines. Now it did break, just me taking it off, but it does cut it. It's not the cut that broke it, it's me that broke it. So just right here, I broke it a little bit, but over here you can see how fine the line is that it cuts. And then this is the leftover, which makes a really interesting design all by itself. So these are some great pieces to use, almost like a puzzle. So here is the piece that I'm going to use now that it's completely cut on my artwork. So that is the Brother ScanNCut, and it's a really valuable tool for me so far. I've been enjoying playing with it just to see what I can do. Now that I'm ready to start playing and thinking about collage, I have to think about the glue that I'm going to use. All of these pieces are a Bristol, so they're a pretty thick piece of paper, and I want to make sure that it's going to stay. So I don't want to use something that's too fluid. I want to use something that's a little thicker. I'm going to use a soft gel matte. It's a very thick glue. It really holds its shape, and it will definitely help to stick some of these things down and get into all of the grooves. I haven't decided yet what it is that I'm going to do with all these pieces, but that's kind of the fun of play. And I love these little scribbles that I had taken off. And since everything is so organic here, I'm kind of thinking that I might like to go towards some geometric shapes with my papers and see what those might look like. So I'm going to think about my composition a little bit. This happens to be the length of the whole piece of paper, but that's not what I want. I'm going to cut some of that off. That'll give me another piece to maybe work with. Move to another area. Maybe I'll bring that all the way to the edge. I just love this little scribble. It's almost as if you were printing and you did a ghost image. I might use that all the way across. I could tear so that I could get some softer edges. I'm not sure if I want to do that or not yet. And I'm going to bring in some of my big scribbles. Now, just because I cut this out as one piece, I'm not going to just lay it down on top. That's not what I'm really going for. What I am going for is to use some of these scribbles in my own unique way. So I'm going to cut them at different points. So that they become separate pieces. And that's a really beautiful scribble. That will soften up some of the hard edges that I might have decided to keep in the artwork. That's a darker scribble. And what's nice is I can play with these, decide to use them, not use them, move them around, which is my favorite part of working with collage, is that until it's glued down, nothing is set in stone, nothing is permanent. It doesn't have to be that way. I love allowing things to go off the edge. It creates the illusion that there's more than what we can actually see. And I also have this soft green scribble as well. This looks like a pretzel. I might actually overlap this a little bit. I like the soft green with the dark blue. I have a couple rough edges in here, so I'm gonna just make those a little bit nicer. I think I might bring that in there like that. This almost feels like it continues from here. And then I don't really want a pretzel shape in here, so I'm going to get rid of that. I might not put this in at all. Actually, that kind of fits in there. I'm going to make this piece a little smaller. Just so there's less white and more of the marks on there. Yeah, I think I like that better. And then I'm just going to bring that up there to soften it. Okay, I think that's what I'm going to put down. And then I'll take it from there and see if there's something else I want to do or add. Okay, stay tuned. Now that my composition is complete, I'm just going to go in with just a little bit more paint and maybe soften up some of the hard edges or lines that I'm not really interested in having. I could also bring out some of the lines that are underneath just by painting in and around those. So that's an option as well, just to kind of bring out some additional shapes that look different from the ones that I already have. And especially this white paper and this hard edge, just to kind of soften that up a little bit. So this is just another way, you know, today I just had nothing left in me, and this was just a great way to have a low impact kind of art day, just thinking about line quality that you can get in a beautiful scribble. And just enjoying that process without having to feel like it all matters. So I can continue to come in and work with that line any way I desire. Just gonna bring in just a little bit of a softer edge here. So this was a really fun way to spend the day when I just didn't have anything else in me but a little bit of a scribble. So I hope you'll have some fun with this and give it a try on days when you're just not really feeling it. What could you do to bring your art practice back into play and try something a little different and be a child again? That's the best part about a scribble. Okay, and I'll show you the results in the end. So I hope you enjoyed this and that you'll give some scribbles a try and realize that scribbling and mark making, it's all part of our process. My students at school absolutely love when I give them the opportunity to play with scribbles and line and just go crazy and enjoy the fun of it. It feels good to scribble. So I hope you'll give it a try and I can't wait to see what you make. So if you're really enjoying this idea, please make sure that you join bi-weekly newsletter. And if you really want to go dive deep into process and play, please join me in my paste and paper playground. I'd love to have you.